But I remember when we moved here, we had a box. It was about this big, by this big, by this big. It wasn't heavy, but had written on it, Darren's Toys. That's the only thing I wrote on the box. The removalists obviously saw who we were, and they're like, we're not going to ask.
Hi, I'm Darren.
Hi, I'm Gordon, and welcome to BackRoom Chats episode 6.
Yes.
We've made it episode 6.
This is a podcast where we talk about gay stuff, gay sex, gay kink.
Just gay stuff in general.
Yeah. So this week we are talking about TV and how gays were being portrayed in TV, all the way back as far as I can remember. Because half the stuff that was it was back in the day, stuff that was on TV, no one knew what, well, especially young people didn't know what all the sex talk was about, and there was an awful lot of it.
Yeah, so it was all there, no one really knew what was going on, and we just sort of...
Well, as kids anyway.
Yes, kids.
The adults knew.
Yeah. I'm going to let Darren sort of take the lead on this podcast, because he watched a lot more TV as a kid than I did. So
why? What was your TV situation?
I don't remember much of much TV when I was a kid, to be honest. So
yeah. How many stations did you have?
Well, for the last sort of few years of my teenage years, one.
He was out in the bush.
I grew up in a small country town. Oh, outside of a small country town, and we picked up one TV channel, and it was black and white. That's all we had. So.
Whereas back in my day, I grew up in the suburbs, and I had 4 TV stations.
You probably had Foxtel.
No, we didn't. There was no Foxtel back then. Don't be stupid. Anyway, a few of the things we want to cover is basically gay representation, because back then being gay was still illegal. So like they couldn't come out on TV and say this is a gay character, and how they got around that basically. When I first started watching TV, Australia had colour TV for approximately 2 or 3 years at that point. This is how old we're going back. Most of the shows on TV, there were current shows obviously, but a lot of them were still from the 60s. So we're talking about like 15 years ago. And obviously because they were still...
50.
Wow.
Well, you said 15, didn't you?
15, yes.
Okay.
So I'm talking about when I was watching them, they were 15 years old.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Now I'm with you.
So we're starting in the 60s.
He wasn't born in the 60s.
No, I wasn't. But anyway, so back in the day, we had an hour of kids' TV from 4 p.m. And then after that, we had 2 usually comedy shows that would run up into game shows or the nightly news. And you didn't really have much choice. Back then, I remember the 2 shows I did watch a lot of were I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched.
I vaguely remember those. I do remember I remember watching some episodes. I couldn't really go into too much detail, but I'm sure Darren will jog my memory.
So these 2 shows are incredibly gay, but they're so coded that, you know, it's all deep down, because basically one is a witch and one is a genie. Guess which one? Bewitched had a genie. Now I'm getting it wrong. That's how subtle it was. No, Bewitched had the witch, obviously, and I Dream of Jeannie had the genie. And both of them weren't allowed to show their true selves outside of their little household, basically. And that was where comedy ensued, basically. It was all about trying to keep their special talents hidden, or their real selves. Gee, does that sound familiar, Gordon?
A little bit.
Bewitched in particular had a lot of gay coded characters. I mean, the mother-in-law was a lesbian, Uncle Arthur, one of the uncles was gay. There was so much camp stuff, and like things like wiggling your nose to do magic and stuff like that. I Dream of Jeannie, you nodded, and that's how you did magic. So they even had little codes and signals and stuff like that to tell the audience, ooh, we're doing something we're not supposed to. It was really silly and stupid.
But obviously back then, none of us really, especially the younger generation, the kids back then, us, we had no idea what it all meant. We just saw a TV show, it was funny. You know, I'm sure the adults in the background were sort of laughing at it, but I'm sure some of them were naive as well.
Well,
especially your parents.
Yeah. My parents are pretty vanilla, so
we went through that last week.
But
you're over there somewhere.
Wow. But anyway, so like those two shows had a big influence on me because I could just feel there was something there that I didn't know, but I identified with. Like there's something I was being told I should keep quiet, basically, but you know, it was the whole moral to both of those shows is that you feel a lot better when you're authentically yourself. Like that was pretty heavy-handed every show. It was just like, oh, well, maybe if you do let yourself be yourself, well, then you'll feel better about yourself. And like both of them had storylines where they went through times where they had to repress themselves. And it was like...
pretty much every episode.
Pretty much. It was funny, but yeah, there's a whole underlying current that's very obvious to us now, but back then, no idea. That got heavy quickly, didn't it?
It did. Very. Sorry, guys.
So there was things like in Bewitched where they had to keep it quiet from the neighbours. Like there was a nosy neighbour, Mrs. Kravitz, who used to peer out her window to see all these strange things happening next door. They had the males in the family both had bosses that they had to keep things quiet from. I mean, the genie had an astronaut for a husband and had to keep it quiet from NASA. So, you know, all sorts of weird stuff. It was the 60s. Everything was over the top and camp.
Yep.
In Australia, we made some TV, but a lot of it was imported and a lot of that was from Britain, from the UK. So British comedy is a lot different from the US comedy. US comedy is very in your face and obvious, whereas British, they just make fun of everything.
Yep.
And it's very satirical. They just make up funny words and say stupid shit all the time. And probably the epitome of that was a show called Are You Being Served?
I'm free.
That's Mr. Humphries. So Mr. Humphries was the closeted gay on the floor. So it was all about
Department store?
A department store.
Yeah, and the men's clothing department was the main.
Yep, they had the men's clothing department and the women's clothing department, and they'd both bicker and fight, and Mr. Humphries was the obviously gay male menswear assistant.
Get home and clean my pussy. That wasn't Mr. Humphries.
No. But, so he was, the thing with British comedy was that homosexuals were the butt of the joke, but they also gave out and gave everyone else was the butt of the joke as well. So everyone, it was an equal opportunity insult, basically. So Mr. Humphries, he would read everyone to filth, basically. And then on the other side, you had Mrs. Slocum. She's the reason why I dye my hair. She was a middle-aged woman who used to dye her hair a different colour. Every episode was a different colour. And it was a perm, and it went from pink to yellow to purple to blue to pink.
I'm glad his hair's not long enough for a perm. But I do like his colour. Blue is my favourite.
But yeah, Are You Being Served was like... it was just funny. Like as a kid, like at 5 or 6 years old, like had no idea why it was funny. It was just the way they said it.
It just was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like when you look back on it later in life, it's just like, it's so gay.
How did they get away with that?
Yes.
You wouldn't get away with that these days.
Yes, that's what people these days would say. You wouldn't get away with it. But they did because it was funny. And... you know, they had no choice. They couldn't come out and say, oh, this character's a gay guy and he's going home with men every time. It was always like, well, did he? Did he? It was never, he definitely did.
Yep. So I guess from there we go into like some things like the young ones.
So the young ones was what, they were basically all out of work, weren't they?
They were
all
three or four misfits. Well, so one was a misfit, one was a hippie, one was a working guy that never had a job, and the other one was
a punk, basically.
Yeah,
Vivian. And then there was Nigel.
Yeah.
He was the stoner, basically.
Stoner, hippie.
And like, it wasn't so much...
It definitely wasn't gay. It wasn't gay betraying or anything like. It wasn't trying to be gay. It was just.
It was very punk and alternative though.
Yeah.
And then back then, like, you didn't see those characters on TV at all because, you know, after the 60s and the hippies, no one wanted to be a hippie anymore. So to see hippies back on the TV was a bit jarring, basically. But it had that whole queer punk aesthetic and alternative and people who didn't fit in, basically.
Yeah, and like Vivian being the punk, he wore collars and he had leather jackets and denim jackets and
studs and he had orange hair here and everything like that.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. So, you know, that all sort of leads into our culture a little bit. So, you know, it was definitely one that we watched. Well, I remember watching it quite a lot as a kid. So, yeah, well, not as a kid, probably as an early adult, early teen. So I guess there's the other side of TV, the more like the things like He-Man, where it had that masculine.
Yes. How could I forget He-Man?
He-Man with the masculine, the harnesses and the
studs and muscles and oh my god, I didn't even think of He-Man. Of course, He-Man. Like, so He-Man.
He probably had more of influence on a lot of younger gay boys than anyone else.
Well,
he was.
So He-Man started off as a toy line, and then they made a show so they could sell toys.
Was it the toys before the show?
Yes.
Wow. There you go.
Yes. So I think somewhere I've still got a Skeletor from the original batch because my granddad bought me that. Wow. And I'm sure he's turning in his grave to find out that had an influence on me.
Darren's got a whole box of toys. I think it's down the shed. They're all old He-Man toys, but a lot of them aren't in very good shape, unfortunately, because they're really, really old and they weren't looked after. They weren't pristine condition. They were played with. But I remember when we moved here, we had a box. It was about this big, by this big, by this big. It wasn't heavy, but had on it Darren's toys. That's the only thing I wrote on the box. The removalists obviously saw who we were, and they're like, we're not going to ask.
You put that in whatever room you want to. But yeah, He-Man, you might know, there is a movie coming out very soon. He was a big muscle-bound jock that had a harness on and
a
loincloth, boots with the fur. And yeah, he used to go around, and again, he had a secret life as well. He was Prince Adam in his normal life, and then he held aloft his magic sword all campily like that and went by the power of Grayskull. And poof, he was He-Man.
That's one way to put it.
Hey, and he had his
I just remember watching it and seeing even though it was a cartoon, but a guy running around with no shirt on basically no shirt on and all muscly. It's like, oh, I didn't mind this. Even though I had no idea what was going on, but I didn't mind it.
But yeah, He-Man, like he had his little sorceress who was his fag hag, basically, if we can call them that.
Master of Arms, his daddy.
Yes, Master of Arms.
The daddy.
One that we come across a lot in meme culture is Fisto. He was this big muscly dude and he had an iron fist. Oh gee. The jokes just write themselves, basically. I mean, to be honest, there was a lot of them that had a lot of things to do with their hands. Like there was I can't remember his name, but he had a big crab claw on his hand. There was like trap jaw that you could replace his hand with guns and other utensils and like. I mean, like these days, if you wanted to make it really, really super gay, you could go so far with that.
Yep.
Like, the gay porn just writes itself, basically.
What's the YouTube video was floating around a few years ago with He-Man singing
4 non-blondes.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't seen it, look it up. It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. I say hey. And Man at Arms chatting to him on a gay chat room. We'll put a little bit of it in here.
Yeah, if I could. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that was probably the gayest show ever. Like, really, like, hugely gay.
Yep. So yeah, a lot of the cartoons had a big influence on Precious Little Minds, meaning that in the best possible way.
Is there anything gay about the Turtles?
Oh, four brothers who had a sugar daddy. So you know, one way to look at it.
I suppose they were mutated. There was there's a lot of that era where like even superheroes, like they're being mutated into something more fabulous than they actually are. Like it's really just another word for being gay. Hide that thing. Yeah,
that's another word the plot story of any superhero TV show or movie.
Yeah, really, yeah.
You're an ordinary person, you find some superpower, and then you have to hide that superpower because it's not accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we got very deep with this episode, probably deeper than I expected to go, or darker.
I mean,
I was expecting it to be sort of a lighthearted, but anyway, that's okay. We can still get there.
I mean, it is important because, you know, this was the only, as I said at the start of the episode, like, this was the only way you could see gay characters. Like, they had to be hidden, they had to be, like, repressed, and, like, these were the stories. And, like, as you know, a lot of creative people are gay, and, like, in Hollywood, they were telling their stories, but they had to tell them in code.
Yep.
I mean, probably then you get in the middle of the 80s and you get things like Golden Girls, where they tackled the issues that no one else would tackle, but they're hilarious as all fuck.
Still love the Golden Girls.
Yes.
We still watch it regularly. I don't know how many times we've gone through every single episode, but you know.
So for those that don't know, the Golden Girls were 4 little old ladies sharing a house, and they were very sexually active. They were dating in their 50s and 60s and proud of it. And they'd like to tackle lots of issues like homosexuality, AIDS, lesbians, all that sort of stuff that was in the mid-80s, in the middle of the AIDS crisis, that was all taboo again. Like, everything was starting to get somewhere, and then AIDS hit and everything got pushed back into the closet again. So that was fun.
But then they last year or year before, they brought out a gay version of it, where it was basically 4 gay guys living in a house, elderly.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you know, one
mid-century modern,
one younger, and then a couple of older gay guys. Yeah, yeah. So it was the same premise, the same theme of the show, but it was obviously gay because it was gay characters, and you know, it's accepted on TV now.
Exactly right. So yeah, the Golden Girls, like, that's where a lot of drag queens probably learnt how to throw shade. Like, that's all they did, was to be bitchy to each other, but you could see there was that bond, and like they were their own family unit, like, which is a lot of what gay people do. Like, they make their own families. Yep. And they were like the first like non-family family in a sea of family sitcoms.
Yep.
And then you get into the 90s, where things started opening up again, and like people were starting to push the boundaries again and start talking about gays and sex on TV. And probably one of the first ones was Absolutely Fabulous. Like, she had a gay son that she could never find. Serge.
Yep. Ab Fab was fantastic. It's it's still a favourite today. The characters are just
Yeah, so you've got Eddie and Patsy. Eddie is apparently the more stable one. She owns the house and she's in PR. And then Patsy is a fashion mogul and she's drug-addled and chain-smoking and has a huge blonde beehive. And yeah, and it was all about those two best friends that couldn't live without each other. And then they had then there's a daughter, Safi, of Eddie. Eddie's daughter, Safi, who then was the negative Debbie Downer of the show. So she used to go, you can't take drugs, and had all those sort of attitudes. And she was trying to hide them and repress them. And then dear old mother. So it's basically a bit like the Golden Girls, except British.
pretty much.
Same sort of characters, to be honest.
So then I guess you can probably skip forward quite a few years, and shows that probably I remember also, like things like Queer as Folk, like where it actually became very obvious it was a gay show. It was about queer culture, and seeing shows like that when I was just after I'd come out and I knew what I was and knew it opened your eyes up to the rest of the world as to that there is people out there like you, and it was fantastic to watch those sort of shows. I still remember watching all of the UK ones, which was the first one, and then America came out with their version of it.
Yeah, so the British one was very controversial at the time because it was actually showing, as much as they could get away with it, gay sex.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't show that on TV.
No.
At all. Like, you couldn't, there was no guys kissing or anything like that. Although that had started to happen in US sitcoms, they started to go, oh, let's see if they'll kiss and stuff like that. But it was very much gays were the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And like, you know,
whereas Queer as Folk wasn't a comedy; it was
straight up drama, basically.
Straight up drama, and yeah, it was. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch the UK one first, because it's definitely better than the US one. But the US one goes on for quite a few more seasons.
Yes.
Whereas I think UK was only one season.
So the UK one is basically about two best friends. One has a high-paying professional job, and he basically chases
anything and everything.
But has his eye on a younger guy.
Probably a little bit too young, but that's okay.
Well, there is that. Looking back at it now, we'd go, it's too young, but... But yeah, there was a lot of sex in that. And yeah, it wasn't subtle.
From the first episode.
Well, I think it was in the first episode.
Yeah,
it was
from the first episode, it was, yeah.
UK being UK TV seasons last like 6 episodes. So it was basically the format that Netflix has got now, is what the UK used to do back then. And that's why the writing remains consistent. Most of the episodes are good because they're not writing 24 episodes at a time.
Not trying to fill the gaps.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, so yeah, Queer as Folk was like very ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was what, late 90s, early 2000s?
Late 90s, early 2000s, yeah. So it was pretty much at a peak time for us because, you know, we were out on the scene or starting to go out on the scene, and like, you know, we're seeing gay people for the first time calling themselves gay on TV, where
having gay sex that wasn't porn but was pretty close to it.
It was your softcore porn, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Things have changed a lot. You've got Drag Race, where there's drag queens competing every week. There's all sorts of gay shows now.
There's all the spin-offs to Drag Race.
Yep. Yeah, you're spoiled for choice for gay representation now.
Yeah.
But like back then, like the only place you saw gay representation was on TV. If you lived in a small town like us, or a very, you know, sort of closeted socially, like the only place you'd see gay representation was TV or in music, and music will be another episode, I guess. Okay, that sort of brings us up to speed, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, currently on TV, there's lots of TV shows out there. Pretty much every week, there's a new gay TV show out there, which is awesome. We love it. We don't watch enough of them. Probably we need to watch more of them. But it's Heated Rivalry.
Yes,
one we need to. I don't think it's on anything that we stream on, which is why we haven't seen it. So, but yeah, there's always a new. Something new, gay.
There was Boots.
Boots, yep. Boots was fantastic. I loved watching that. That tickled my military side of things and my gay side of things. It was great.
Yeah, you did like that.
I did like it. Yeah. Darren knows if I'm really interested in a TV show, I'll put my laptop down.
It doesn't happen enough, to be honest.
Do it more than you do.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. Okay, everybody. Now it's time for Kink of the Week.
It's time for the Kink of the Week.
What's the kink of the week this week, Darren?
So this week we're going to talk about shoes, socks, feet in general, basically. So this is very similar to armpit sniffing, but obviously the other end of the spectrum, basically. So
Ties in nicely with a shirt we just launched.
yes, it does indeed. So I like a bit of a good old feet sniff. I'm not a big feet fetishist as such because my feet are very ticklish.
I can't touch his feet.
Yeah, they're very ticklish, but give me a dirty sock or a dirty shoe. Oh, I love that. The dirtier the better. So a lot of people like this. It's a very big thing, especially on Instagram lately. I'm always seeing things where people putting their feet up close to the camera and...
People are just selling feet pics.
Yeah, I think so. I think because of OnlyFans.
Yeah.
If you don't want to show your dick, if you want to show your feet, that probably pays more, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's so popular at the moment. But yeah, like a good old dirty sock is good.
For my work, I wear boots a lot. So Darren does like the fact that I've always got boots on. There's always dirty socks hanging around.
I mean, if you really want to get into it, you can then tie the sock to your face, so you have to sniff it. There's also things where you can strap a boot to your face as well. So basically, boot here, straps around the back, and you can't get out of that.
Runners and joggers and yeah.
And obviously now that there's all these sort of, nice looking shoes, people are showing off their shoes and their appreciation of their shoe. So it's sort of like, yeah, it all ties together, really.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I think I first got into it because of boots, but now, people don't have boots as much anymore. It's more about the sneaker, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, like boots, you can always put that on someone's chest and like really grind it into them and get them to lick the boot. That's always a nice thing too, like licking boots to polish it.
Then you got boot blacks and stuff like that who their sole thing is they love just to clean people's boots for them, I love getting my boots cleaned by a boot black.
Yes.
It's great just to sit there and just let them go to town. I remember one night I think it was a Bootco night, and a boot black cleaned Darren's relatively dirty boots with his mouth, the whole boot, and he loved every second of it, and so did Darren.
Yeah, it was pretty hot, to be honest. Anyway, guys, I think that's enough from us today.
Yep.
Hope you've enjoyed the episode. As always, if you have any comments, questions,
want to be involved in the podcast, or just want to say hello, we're on all the social channels at backroomgear.store. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok, we're on YouTube, we're on Pinterest, we're on X, we're on Blue Sky, so we're pretty much everywhere you want to find us. If you're interested in looking at some of the shirts that we sell, check us out at backroomgear.store. You'll definitely find something you love there. We've just launched a new shirt this week, 2 new shirts this week. One of them is very related to the Kink of the Week.
Yes.
Not on purpose, but it just happened that way. So, yeah.
And we've also got some gay kink flags up for sale as well. We've got a water sports flag and a fisting flag as well.
Someone was asking about the water sports flag, weren't they?
Yes.
So So you ask if there's something you ever with our shirts. If there's something you ever want that you would like to see on a shirt, reach out to us. We do custom stuff all the time. So,
Yes.
yeah, we love doing custom stuff. Well, Darren loves doing it. So, yeah.
Anyway, guys, hope you enjoy the rest of your week and stay kinky, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye.